Welcome to the help video for the multi-user forms feature in the CHGME Annual Performance Report. Today we will show you how multiple users can work on the same forms in the Annual Performance Report and how their work can be checked in and consolidated. We will first provide an overview on how the multi-user forms feature works. Then we will walk through how multiple users can add new records to the same form at the same time and how they can edit prior year records. And finally, we will show you how those multiple users can check in their changes so they can be consolidated. The CHGME Annual Performance Report has two forms that allow multiple users to work on the same form at the same time, the IND-GEN form and the EXP-1 form. The IND-GEN form tracks data for individuals who have received direct financial support from the Bureau of Health Workforce, BHW. And the EXP-1 form captures information about the names of sites used by grantees to provide trainees with clinical or experiential training. Both of these forms collect a great deal of data in several rows and columns by using an embedded Excel format. Since there is so much data collected in these forms, there is a helpful feature called the multi-user forms feature, which allows multiple people to work on the same form at the same time. So let's say you are working on entering data for individuals in the IND-GEN form, and your coworker, Fred, is working on entering data at the same time. You can both enter new records in this form. But what if you both enter the same record? Well, that is why we have the consolidator feature. The consolidator will then be able to view both your records and Fred's records and can remove the duplicates. The consolidator can also edit any fields to make sure that all data that both you and Fred entered is accurate. This helps to make sure that multiple people can work as efficiently as possible and that all data submitted to HRSA has been reviewed and is as accurate as possible. Only grantee users with the permission to edit performance reports for the grant will be able to edit these forms in the annual performance report. And only grantee users with the permission to submit performance reports will be able to perform the consolidate functions for this report. Your project director is responsible for managing permissions, and they can give you appropriate performance report permissions in the electronic handbooks. Now, let's see how you can add new records with this fancy functionality. Remember, the multi-user forms features are only available in the IND-GEN and EXP-1 forms. Once you are in the form, using the IND-GEN form as our example, you can add new records by adding information in the rows and columns. Other users can also enter new records at the same time, but you will not see each other's records while you are first adding your new records. The consolidator will be responsible for reviewing and consolidating all your new records. Helpful tip! Communicate with your colleagues to try to avoid entering duplicate data. But if you do, don't worry. The consolidator will be able to clean it up. Make sure to save your new records before you start to edit prior records. If you also need to make any edits to prior records, you can do so by clicking Edit Prior Records. You can only update fields that are not grayed out. The grayed out fields are the read-only fields that cannot be edited. Since multiple users can edit prior records at the same time, it is possible that someone else might be editing a prior record that you try to edit. If that is the case, you will see a message saying someone else has made changes to this record, and you will have to refresh the page to see their changes. Save the page when you are done editing, and make sure to correct any validation errors that occur when you save the page. When you are ready to go back to the current records, click Edit New Records. Now that you've completed adding all your new records and making all your edits to prior records, you are ready to check in your changes. Checking in your changes allows the consolidator to review your data and the data of everyone else. When you are done with this form, click the Check In button. All validation errors must be resolved before you can successfully check in the form. If there are any remaining validation messages, you will see a message when you try to check in the form. If your records were successfully checked in, you will see the message, "This report is now checked in." You will now see a read-only view of the records. You can view the prior records by clicking View Prior Records. You can also see in the far right columns the Created By and Last Updated By fields to find the records you added or edited. Once you've checked in your changes, you can always edit the form again by clicking Edit. If you choose to edit, you will have to check in the form again. Once everyone working on the form has checked in their changes, the consolidator will be able to view all your changes, and they will consolidate them to make sure that there are no duplicates and that all data is valid. Now that you are done with this form, click Continue to move on to the next form. The form will remain in progress until everyone has checked in their changes, and the consolidator has completed the consolidation. The form will be marked as complete once the consolidator is done, and you will see the form is complete by seeing the complete status and the green check mark next to the form. At this point, you will be able to view the completed form and all the records that everyone has added or edited. If anyone does edit the form again, the steps to check in and consolidate the form will have to be repeated. So that's how the multi-user forms feature works in the IND-GEN and EXP-1 forms. We explained how the multi-user functionality works, how multiple users can add new records, edit the prior year records, and check in all the changes. If you need any help while working on the CHGME Annual Performance Report, contact the HRSA Contact Center at 1-877-464-4772 between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and they will help you out.